We're going to bring back gray skies in play, developing Tuesday and thickening, and probably for a good chunk of this week, more often than not, the clouds have the upper hand.
Another overcast day in central New York. Maybe one of the last places you'd think to look for solar power.
In Germany, there is probably now 2 million connected watts of solar power, so a significant amount of solar power, and they get about the same sunlight as we do or less.
Central New York may not do quite as much with that same amount of sun, but the number of people and businesses going solar is growing all the time. In fact, New York State is now 5th in the country in renewable energy, the only state east of the Mississippi in the top 5. We visited some solar central New Yorkers and found that even in a sea of gray skies, getting your energy from the sun still has some major benefits.
Yesterday was a perfect example because it was overcast, and it wasn't raining, wasn't snowing, but it was totally over. You couldn't look up and see the sun, and it was still making 10 kilowatts per hour.
Greg's auto shop in Baldwinsville is largely powered on solar panels, without much need to tap into the grid or the electrical system most of us rely on for power. And even though the initial cost was $300,000, the panels are having a very positive effect on the shop's bottom line. You said it's going to pay itself off after a certain period of time?
About 4 years. The money we will have saved in 4 years will pay for the money that we spent.
Now, we don't get as much sun here in central New York as, say, Arizona or California. But businesses and homes in central New York that use solar panels like these behind me actually can use the extra energy that they get in the summer from the sun and use it in the winter.
So if you generate too much power when the sun is shining, you get to use the electric system as a bank. So you put that power into the bank and then you can pull it back and use it later. So you get to net that effect over the course of a year.
Greg also got some help from a sizable grant from NYSERDA, New York State government's Sustainable Energy Authority, and federal tax incentives. In fact, he only had to pay 15% of that original $300,000, and in 4 years, it'll be a distant memory. Ramsey Browse co-owns Ithaca Bakery and has used this large solar array to power the business for years now, and he's also looking at a quick payoff of the initial cost.
It's kind of a no-brainer. If it's a break-even for 10 years, and at the end of 10 years, it's all gravy at that point, there's really no good reason not to do it.
And as long as they plan to keep the business open for years to come, it's all profit into the future. And speaking of the future, a group of Cornell students are hard at work designing a building for the Ivy League school that will not only be a research facility for alternative energy, but will run on it.
Or the idea behind this building is it will be a living laboratory on Cornell's campus to study, research, and further develop sustainable technologies at Cornell.
And despite Ithaca's cloudy skies, solar energy will play a huge role.
I mean, I think one of the neatest things about solar is that the potential is huge compared to all the other resources. I mean, you can look at the scale. I mean, it's just like orders of magnitude greater than all the other resources you have available to us at this point.
So it may be tougher to harness the sun in central New York than other parts of the country, but the state is still becoming a U.S. leader in solar power. Even with all that gray sky, many are beginning to see the brighter side of our energy future. For NCC News, I'm Matt Johnston.